The front porch has to meet the same standards that the house did, with including the termite shield, the double seal plate, and anchor bolts, which are 10-inch anchor bolts on 18-inch centers. The cores are filled with concrete and vertical rebar. Also, the joists are 2x8s on 16-inch centers.
Okay, something I missed on the original framing is up here I had to create a pocket. This will be 2 king studs and 3 trimmers. I really didn't need to use 3, I could have used 2, but I missed it. So there was plywood all the way up here. I had to remove it. I slid 3 more, as it was 2x4s, just because there's a 2x6 on the back side. But we're creating what's called a pocket, and in that pocket there'll be the 2x12 that goes across to the porch pole and comes up. The pole will be notched, and then the other end of the 2x12s, the 3 2x12s will go in here along this porch. Our total of 4 8x8 posts. Only on this end and on the far end do we get that cross header, because of the way the roof works. This part of the roof's going to come down on the header that goes across. The rest of the roof will go off of, and land on the header board that goes all the way across. Big, massive fucking beam. But anyway, if I had known about it or read my plans a little bit more carefully, I would have understood how this header ties to the house. I understood how it stood to the pole, but I didn't understand what's called a pocket beam. But now I do. So there's a little bit more clear view of the pocket beam. It's a total of 5 2x12s. 2x4 material. 1, 2, 3, 4. Creates a pocket for the beam to fit in, and then it gets screwed in with 6 timber screws. That is a 6.5-inch screws that just helps tie them all together. I don't know if that was really required, but it seemed like the right thing to do. Okay, so we found out that the bracket that we use actually uses 2 screws because it's an 8x8 post. We'd previously had a screw pretty close to where it needed to be, to the center, so it would do right through the center of a bracket. But this requires two 5/8" bolts. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting through the two seal plates with a 3/4" auger bit before I go down through 6 inches down into the cement, because remember, all the cores are filled in this block. And for that I'll use an SDS hammer drill. And that'll be coming up here in just a second. Tina is cutting the old bolts off because those were, in the center. So that's what's going on. Tina's using a saw to cut the bolts off. Now that's the SDS hammer drill. Don't try it with a conventional drill. You'll never get through that concrete. That's the small size SDS drill. If you hit rebar, even though the bit says it can go through rebar, it won't. That drill bit is currently stuck in another place in the house. I can't get it out because it welded itself up against a piece of rebar. So now I got to cut the drill bit off and drill another hole. But anyway, an SDS hammer drill is the thing to get through 3,000 psi concrete. Okay, so the bolts that you see Tina hammering in, those the holes were filled with Simpson's epoxy for the bolts, and we sprayed the bolt holes clean, and then forced the epoxy in there, put epoxy all over the bolts, and then tamped them down. No. You can see how it takes two bolts, not just one, which you'll find on every other post bracket it's just one, but for the bigger brackets it's two. Then the big washer plates that go down, bolts go on top of that, and then there's a cover plate that covers the bolts so that the post has an even base to sit on. Down in the brace?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crooked, but I think it's...
Alright, walk down, Wyatt. Walk down. Walk down, walk down.
Push it forward, but not crazy now. So. Push it a little. Tap it a little.
Well, it's flush with the wood, but it's not flush with the metal.
Oh, well, the metal looks like it's both sides there.
Yeah.
But do push it, tap it this way, Mickey, a little bit. This way. Oh, and do hit it close to the bottom. Okay, that's good.
That's good.
That's actually good. All right.
But it's not flush with the metal over here.
Really?
It's flush with the metal here, but it's not flush over
Oh, I see. Michaela, yeah, you may need to go the other side. You got it, Wyatt?
here. Yeah, that's probably
Keep going. Just up.
a little bit more.
One more. Right there.
All right.
I got it.
You got it?
Put a screw as high as you can reach. Where are you at, right there? Right there. Hold on. Oh, you got it? Oh, it looks like you got it. Oh. an additional requirement for the beam post connection is 2 bolts. Those are 8-inch, actually those are like 10-inch bolts. They're half-inch bolts. Here I'm using an auger bit to get all the way through. It's a long bit, but you need to get all the way through. You never have enough drill bits. So 2 bolts per connection. Of course, the boards were sandwiched together with multiple 3-inch screws all the way down. You can see them, 3 every 16 inches, I think it was. And then to the post itself, the long auger bolts. Starting also to install the rim joist there. But that's what the finished product looks like.
Okay, so we're working on the porch today. The decking is laid out, but it's just tacked in right now. So what Dwayne's doing, he's taking the string. Whoa. He's taking a string here. And we're going to see if this is straight.
The first row.
The first row. So we can base the gap and between each board. So if we look down the string, we'll see that's pretty straight. What do you think?
Yep. So we'll tie down this first row, and then we'll use a carpenter pencil to check our gap in between.
That one's a little wide, huh?
Yeah, and this one's only tacked down with 1 screw. So we wanted to see how many boards it took to go across.
So what we're going to do is you show them the example of the crowbar to make the gap the same size.
If we need to move the wood, you go against something that's stable, like in this case it's a post, and you can move it over if you need to a little bit. When we get to the other rows, you can see how that crowbar works. You don't have to have a fancy, expensive tool for just, 1 porch. If you're doing this professionally, they have very special bars for racking these across, but why buy something you're never going to use again? I'll use this crowbar many times. So I have 2 lag screws, 6-inch lag screws every 16 inches to tie the header board for the treads onto the rim seal. I cut these myself. I did not buy these at Home Depot or Lowe's. There's a very particular math that goes into how to cut stringers. There's a book called How to Build and Frame Stairs with Landings by Greg Vandenberg. Very good. He'll go through the whole math with you because it's very, very specific to meet code. So that's what the final product looked like. That's almost a little over 6 foot wide.
And And here is one of many beautiful sunsets from the front porch.